Okay. Just let people come into the room. Just make sure they have their audio on to listen and everything like that. I'm sure we'll have a few more coming in as well, Matt, that you can just let in. So, look, welcome along. Thanks for joining us for this sports marketing session, event, webinar, however we want to call it. What we're going to run through today is just looking at the whole kind of sports marketing in general, stuff that you can do for your brand, for your marketing, and ways and how you can leverage it and earn money from it as well. So let's get straight into making a start here. So look, obviously, welcome along. Myself, I'm Jamie. I'm joined by Matt. Matt, I don't know if you want to say hello now or get into
Hey guys.
Yeah, so look, Matt's here as well. Together, look, we run consulting for sports and marketing for sports. We've got a background in marketing and sports marketing, probably a decade each, with what we do, getting into working with businesses and stuff like that, and then into working with athletes and sports clubs and all that kind of stuff. So over the years, myself, I've worked with athletes and individuals who want to market themselves, want to get their brand out there, want to give themselves more options to make money. And then Matt has worked more on kind of the data side, the tech side and stuff like that of bringing sponsorships together and kind of doing deals and stuff like that. So Matt, I don't know if you want to add any more on that, if I've done you a disservice or I've bigged you up a bit too much,
No, it's all good. My kind of background is I've kind of worked in sales and marketing probably for 15, 16 years. For my sins, I've worked with people like Rugby World Cup 2015, British Athletics. So for instance, during the 2012 Olympics, I was probably sending out about 1.6 million emails per day to ticket holders, to potential ticket holders, sponsors, all of that. Worked with people like Swansea City Football Club, guys like Sam Warburton, Sharon Davis, all these kind of helping them build their marketing, membership platforms, all manner of different things, because sports is a passion. And I also have a podcast as well, where I actually talk to people from the world of sports. Again, people like Sean Fitzpatrick, Dave Buttress, who's the chairman of a rugby team, who's actually the former CEO of Just Eat in the UK. So kind of all manner of things to do with sports.
I love it. There's me just like a little kind of overview, hand it over to you and the resume comes out, it's great. But it is just that kind of thing, obviously, just to show, look, the stuff that we're going to run through today, look, it comes from experience. It comes from working with people. It comes from actually doing this stuff for a long period of time, taking advantage of changes, being able to adapt. Things like the pandemic hit. Okay, how do you move when your sport stops to still earning money and stuff like that? So what we're going to run through then is just the whole kind of stuff on marketing, on brand. We're going to look at some ways for you to make some money as well. We are then going to tell you about that giveaway, that we mentioned about as well. And then we're going to open it up to some Q&A as well. So if there's anything going on, for yourselves where you're just like trying to do this at the minute, what do you guys think? Or anything within this kind of session as well, if you just like, can you explain that a bit more or go into it in just a bit more detail and stuff like that. So it's just crack on there. So marketing and brand, I think marketing has so many different kind of heads where, you only need to go into social media and people are telling you that you need to be doing marketing, but there's all this kind of confusion out there where, there's people talking about websites and there's people talking about search engines and ads and graphics and, branding guidelines and all this kind of stuff. And then you have the likes of, say, Instagram, where you've got the kind of, say, influencer kind of people, the people who are kind of like flogging stuff. And they've got all these kind of followers and stuff like that. And you're thinking, how can I get, those kind of followers? How can I get in that kind of mix? And all it is really is we're just peeling it right back to just looking at it going, look, what is it that you want to do? Okay, so what is it you want to kind of achieve through your brand, through your marketing? What is it you stand for? And then you can really leverage that. And leveraging it just comes down to however you feel comfortable. So if we take content, for example, if you play sport, then, videos of you actually playing sport are all that's needed, really, right? You can put that across. If you are more of kind of analyzing or in kind of, say, broadcasting or coaching or anything like that, well, you could put your kind of knowledge across. So you could give an overview of something that's going on and give your view. And maybe it's just a case of you're really interested in something else and you want to, get that across. So you have lots of different options that you can take advantage of. And it just comes down to you and how you want to do it, you know? And the whole kind of marketing point is that really, look, if you have attention, then you have influence. Okay. And once you have that, we can leverage it and we can maximize it. And that's really what we want to do. But anything that we do with our brand, with our marketing and stuff like that, there's a reason behind it, right? So like I said, everybody is different, but most of the time when we boil it down, we're looking at it to benefit us in some sort of way. And that's usually financially. So we're either looking at it where we highlight ourselves so that we can get picked by another team, or, you know, we look more appealing to a team of taking us on. It could then be a case of, you know, we want to look at getting kind of sponsorship in and stuff like that. And we can show people that, you know, we already have an audience or we have a following. And it could be that you're going for a job or you're pivoting away from sport or something like that. And you want to showcase the stuff that you've done as well. And it's all about making sure that we have the stuff in place to be able to take advantage of that. And that doesn't mean that you have to be marketing all the time. You could spend a bit of time each month planning out your marketing, putting stuff in place and really getting that working for you. So Matt, I don't know if you want to jump in just on that part, on the whole kind of marketing front.
Yeah, it's about building your following. At the end of the day, I always kind of say marketing is a bit like if you've got the best Christmas lights, but they're in the middle of Dartmoor, what's the point? If there's nobody there to see it, there's nobody there to see the good work that you're doing, whether you're a player or an athlete, or whether you're a club, a coach, you have to have an audience. You know, I know that there's a guy on here, Peter Bracken, Scrum Doctor. You know, at the end of the day, you're not going to help anybody with their scrummaging if they don't know that you exist. So you need to be able to get your content out there about how to position right in the scrum. You can tell them a prop, you know, all these different things that if you don't leverage your audience and don't build your audience, then what's the point? And again, if you are an athlete, it's not just about, you know, making hay while the sun shines. It's about planning for afterwards. I've spoken to a number of sports people, as I know Jamie has, who have been at the top of their game. And then once they've retired, they then had to go into a completely different industry because they can't play sports anymore. So their entire income stream is gone. So this is about how you can actually start to build your audience to, you know, not only look after you now, but also put things in place that will help you long term as well, which is absolutely key.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I like that whole thing, that long term and stuff like that. You know, that is something where we've worked with clients before on that, you know, with athletes and that transition and going into different kind of fields. But this also is a great contingency as well. You know, like how many horror stories do you hear of people that their career has been cut short and stuff like that? Well, you know, don't leave it so you have no options. Start building different options now. And this can be at all different kind of levels, and it can be at all ages and stuff like that as well. And, you know, I'm going to call him out a little bit, but just I can see we've got Jago. I can remember chatting with Jago a good couple of years back, you know, and like a quick overview. I hope you don't mind me sharing, Jago, but, you know, he was at an academy, a football academy, and, you know, COVID hit and they kind of released almost everyone. You know, it was like that. So it's just all of a sudden, it's like, now what, basically? And he went over to the States and stuff like that. I remember chatting with him and just saying, yeah, okay, work on yourself. Let people know that you exist, because you need to look at it as that a club's going to come in for you. You want that club coming in for you. You need to look appealing. It's just like a bigger business buying a smaller business. You know, you need to look appealing and show that you have the right kind of things that they want. And we'll get into why that's very important in just a minute when we look at things like sponsorship and earning money. But what I do want to get across here is that, again, look, it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what sport you're in, what level you're at, or anything like that. You can really take advantage through marketing and branding. So if we take Cristiano Ronaldo, or, you know, back at the World Cup, maybe you're a Messi fan, maybe you're Team Messi, you know, maybe we should do a little poll or something that goes on. But, you know, if you take those guys, I mean, look, they could post anything on Instagram, right? And they get millions of likes and follows and all this kind of stuff, right? It's just because of who they are. But, you know, if you take it back to just like a small location. So if you take me, for instance, I'm in Bristol and I've worked with local boxers, right? So a local boxer, you know, they've had a couple of fights or something like that. Maybe they haven't even had a proper pro fight yet or something like that. They've just turned pro. But the area can really leverage off of their brand. So because they get a following, people know them, people trust them, for them to turn around and say, you know, Bob's Mechanics, they're the best mechanics this side of town. You know, people who trust them, people who relate to them, are now going to go and check out Bob's Mechanics when they need a mechanic next. And that is what we talk about with leveraging and maximizing, is that no matter how small, you can have that influence. And I guess that's talking about like Instagram and stuff like that. You hear this kind of influencer marketing kind of thing. And, you know, you might get someone next to a pool trying to, you know, sell some sort of sun cream or something like that. You know, I think that's the category that people kind of look at with influencer marketing. But really, influencer marketing has always been around. You know, when I was younger, you know, Hulk Hogan was telling me to take my vitamins. You know, David Beckham was telling me to, you know, use the Brill cream and stuff like that. It's like, look, these guys were getting paid to do that, obviously. But because they had an audience, because they had people, they were able, you know, to do that. And that's what we want to talk about here. Like I said, at any kind of level and stuff like that, you can really take advantage of it. And why? I think, you know, the whole kind of stuff that Matt spoke about, where, look, your career, you know, is not going to be there forever. You're going to transition. You know, it could be cut short and stuff like that. So why not just give yourself options? Why not just start building up different channels, different content, different audiences, and, you know, really take advantage of that whenever you want to. You know, having those people on your side, have those fans, that fan base. Again, no matter what level that you're at, you know, you can look at that. You know, I don't know if there's anything.
One thing to say as well, Jamie, is that I think there's often a perception that you need hundreds of thousands, millions of followers to kind of have that influence. You don't. Actually, you need to have a following in your niche. So I've followed people where they were top flight rugby players. For instance, they got injured. They were never an international. I don't think they'd ever make an international, but they've had to forge another career. Now, they don't have a huge following, but what they ended up having is a good niche following in their industry. And I think it actually goes over to what to the next slide in terms of sponsorships and commissions, is because they're strong in their niche. They've then had partnerships with companies to do things like the VO camera, which can capture and create content for teams and players as well. And actually, they've started to sell those. They've started to recommend other bits and pieces as well because of their sponsorship and commission opportunities.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the big thing, isn't it? It's just options, you know, having those options available, because you've put in the work, you've done the effort, you know, whilst you could, to really take advantage of that. So like you said as well, kind of moving on to the next slide. I mean, look, we talked about, you know, kind of marketing and branding and why it's important and stuff like that to leverage it. But look, how can you leverage it? You know, and that's the main thing, right? How do we make more money? You know, how can we do things to make more money with what we're doing? So we're going to run through 5 ways. We'll give you some examples on each of these ways, but obviously, look, there's so many different ways that you can take advantage of it. And as Matt said as well, that whole kind of niche stuff is that, look, you could be looking at something really random. You know, you could be a rugby player who loves fishing, you know, and it's like, you can actually now, you know, show people that you do go fishing and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, look, a brand is going to basically come to you and say, okay, look, you know, you're using these kind of fishing rods and stuff like that. Which, you know, how about you promote them and you'll take a commission and stuff like that. So that's what you can look to do. So sponsorship is something that I think everyone looks at some point within their career, right? Okay, if you've got to a point where you're flying high and stuff like that, sponsorship comes to you quite easy. You know, but when you're kind of lower levels, or if you're in a sport that doesn't get as much exposure, then sponsorship can be tough. And what I mean by that is it comes across as if you're begging, because you're asking people to help you, you're asking people to kind of fund your sport and stuff like that. And there's something there that you kind of feel like you were just taking. And look, there are 3 reasons really why someone will sponsor you. And it's that either that they want to see you do well. Okay, so they're just like, yeah, okay, I'll sponsor you. The same as like, you know, a child is running a race at school and they've got a sponsorship form. You know, it's that someone is like, yeah, okay, you know, we'll chuck some money at that, we'll help them. The other number 2 there is that they want to be part of the story. You know, they want to be able to brag down the pub that they helped you, you know, kind of get to the stage that you're at and stuff like that. And then the third is that they want to benefit. And that third part is really where it really comes in. Because if you can show to someone that by sponsoring you, they're going to benefit in a certain way, you know, the audience that you have, the kind of database that you have and stuff like that as well, proof of concept from stuff that you've done before, you can now go out there and it's a value exchange. You obviously become a lot more confident then, you know, you have more courage to go after sponsorship, and you will be more appealing to people who will sponsor you. So you can look at sponsorship in that kind of way. And then you can also look at the commission kind of stuff as well. So, look, you know, we've got people on this session here that are all athletes and stuff like that. You've probably had one of these posts on Instagram that said, you know, you can come become an ambassador for us, you know, and start earning some money and stuff like that. There are rubbish deals out there, but there are also really good deals out there. So just going back to like the fishing rod kind of example I mentioned, it could be that you use a certain bit of equipment within your training. Maybe you're a coach or something like that. You use certain bits of equipment. You now recommend, you know, that equipment. It could be that you're in great shape, and it's because, you know, your nutrition, your protein powders, whatever it is, you now are going to promote that. And every kind of sell, you're going to get a commission. You know, we call this affiliate marketing in different kind of sections, but it comes down to commission in sports for some reason. But it's just that whole kind of thing. It's just affiliate marketing where you're getting paid a commission because you're getting people to buy something. You don't need to get involved. You don't have to keep stock or anything like that. You just obviously take money, you know, from the whole kind of commission side. And then we move on to number 2 there. Just before I do, actually, Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything onto that whole kind of thing of sponsorship and...
Yeah, the thing with sponsorship as well is that at the end of the day, we know that if people are giving you money for something, then they expect something in return. They expect value. Now, I've worked with a few athletes with previous clients where they wanted equipment. They wanted help with equipment for, I don't know, getting back into their sports in the run-up to the Olympics and things like that, which we obliged with, and we got something like 1 post. Now, for giving them a couple of £100 worth of equipment, it wasn't a lot of value there. So there's always that value exchange with sponsorship. And therefore, having your audience and being able to direct people to that and actually make sure that you can track it as well. Like Jamie said earlier, I'm more on the analytics side of things at times, but making sure you can just say, look, we've driven X amount of people to your website, you know, and whether that's resulted in sales, whatever. But again, just being able to show your worth means that when it comes time for that sponsorship to be renewed or even extended or even, you know, to grow it, you can show the value that you've actually added. And that's incredibly important. Same as the commission-based side of things. You know, at the end of the day, if you're a rep, whether it's, you know, I'm going to pick on him again, Peter, the Scrum Doctor, you know, if you're affiliated with Rhino or Predator or any of these companies that do scrummage machines and stuff, well, you being able to show that you've driven that amount of traffic, you've, you know, recommended their products, and those products have seen an uplift in sales. It just goes to adding more value to you as an athlete. And then, as Jamie said, the next thing is coaching and mentoring. You know, that fans, people out there, your audience will want to learn from you. And at the end of the day, you exchanging that knowledge with them, helping them along in their careers, or, you know, helping little Johnny, you know, learn techniques and learn how to do things from his idol, you know, absolutely key, you know, and a great way of generating additional income.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, like all different levels and stuff like that as well. Myself and Matt, back last year, speaking with an MMA fighter, retired fighter, has a gym. And it's just like, look, the gym's there that people go in to train. It's like, well, look, why not stop putting on some coaching where they actually get to deal with you? You know, so you're going to help them with actually their techniques and stuff like that. You know, that stuff there is more appealing than just going into the gym, you know, to train. And you can obviously charge a lot more money on top of that. And if we take it back down to something really simple, again, they're talking about picking on people. I'm going to take Jago again. It's only because he's on the list here that I can actually see, you know, when my screen's up. But like I said, him going off to America, well, look, how many kids get released from academies each year, you know, and are looking at finding another club and stuff like that. Okay, look, what are the options? Well, look, here's Jago, who's gone off to do exactly that. He's gone off to America. He's gone to, you know, college or university, whatever, you know, they kind of call it and stuff like that, to basically, you know, get onto a team so that he can look then to further his playing career and stuff like that. People who have no idea on how that works, and Jago's there saying, look, I can help you with that. You know, this is my kind of mentor and this is my coaching that I would help you with. We'll come on to some other kind of ways around that in a minute of the kind of products. But just with this coaching and mentoring, it could be that it's just like a call like this on Zoom, where they're asking you questions and you can just go back with them. Okay, yeah, I found this was an issue. Having a UK mobile phone was the biggest pain, you know, because it just cost so much money to kind of call anyone, or we couldn't call anyone, you know, and stuff like that. So you get to do that stuff. And then they said it could be a case of maybe you've retired from sport. maybe you now are into coaching. There's that transition then, that you can say, look, I can coach you on this transition. Maybe you've gone into management and you're going to train coaches to turn into managers and stuff like that. So there's lots of stuff that you can do, and you can do this one-on-one. You can do this in a group. You can do it in person, and you can do it online as well. And if you are in a sport, so just say, for instance, look, you're a professional goalkeeper. It doesn't matter what level you're at and stuff like that. That you could start offering training, to people who are inspiring to be goalkeepers and stuff like that. They're going to want to learn from you. Like, who better than someone who's actually done it, who's been there, worn a t-shirt, that kind of thing. They're going to want to come to you to be able to do that. So again, Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of the people on the call today, we've got a mixture of, current athletes, coaches, past athletes. We've got some clubs here as well. I know we'll talk about memberships and everything in a minute, but when you link the coaching elements with, say, a club, for instance, that's quite a strong proposition, because at the end of the day, you've got your fan base, and therefore you can take the players, whatever sport it is, and create some training videos. You can even run, clinics at the club or something like that. So it engages with people, but it also just, builds up that kind of element to it, because again, people want to learn from the experts. At the end of the day, Jamie and I have also spent time reading books, watching webinars, going to events. Nobody becomes an expert overnight. You become an expert by actually doing it, and actually not having the successes all the time. You learn from the losses as well, as most of the coaches will say. Sometimes you learn from the losses more than the victories. But, at the end of the day, if you learn from somebody who's been there, done it, got the T-shirts, it's a lot quicker to get from A to B than if you were to just pick up a ball and start wondering what you do with it. So that coaching and mentoring element is huge. And we've seen a rise, certainly during and post-COVID, of people creating that coaching element and mentoring element. I mean, all you've got to do is look at the Body Coach and just think, well, a YouTube channel and a few funny videos on Instagram has generated him millions in not only sponsorship, but also from coaching and other elements as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that I think the Body Coach is a great example, is that he put on classes where no one would turn up, to making millions a year through just through YouTube ads, and stuff like that, let alone anything else. It's just like, you have to make the start. You obviously have to do the things. Picking up on what you said as well, look, obviously a mix of people, on this call. So what I will say is, look, the stuff that we're running through, it does work for any kind of stage that you're at within the career, or any kind of entity that you're in the whole kind of sports sector, and any kind of level and stuff like that as well. We will do the whole kind of Q&A thing at the end, where you can, ask some specific questions, but feel free to use the chat as well. So as we're going along, if there's something that, you kind of thinking, chuck it in the chat, we'll pick it up at the end and stuff like that as well. Or, if I don't, pick on Matt too much, he might be able to answer you or something like that within the chat. But yeah, looking at sponsorship as well, I just want to touch on something I forgot to kind of mention within that, is that you don't always have to get paid. It could be that you just get your kit, or nutrition or something like that actually just covers costs, so you're not paying that out. So you're still making money by not paying it out. You're just getting the kind of goods. And that is always a good place to start. So you can get that kind of stuff in, but you can still promote it, and you can still show them that business that you are, you do have that kind of influence, so that when it comes to negotiate again, like Matt was saying, you can build on top of it. You can add something else into it. So, one, we're looking at sponsorship. Two, we're looking at kind of coaching and stuff like that. Three, we're looking at business and alignment. So if we look at business as kind of one thing where you can start a business around what you do, so just with, for instance, talking about kind of goalkeeper coaching, it could be that you now put on kind of school skills, holiday kind of classes and stuff like that. You start a little business doing that. It's kind of what you do anyway. It could be that you've made some money within your sport and stuff like that, and you kind of want to invest in a business, something to kind of fall back on. It could be that you just want to start a little bit of a sideline, to support you within what you're doing. So maybe you don't have to go and work in a job to fund your sport, to fund your living whilst you do your sport. You could start a little business, start making some money online and stuff like that, to fund you and carry on with your sport. You can also kind of shortcut things as well by looking at alignment. And what this really means is that you you leverage your influence. So you have a fan base, you have socials, maybe you get on TV, you get on the radio, all this kind of stuff. People know you, people know about you. Or like I said, over your sport or over your kind of sector, you have that influence. You can team up then with a business that already exists, and you can take a piece of the business, or you can work out a kind of commission structure or something like that. Where this works really well, you're talking about rugby, Matt was talking about kind of rugby earlier and stuff like that. You see a lot of rugby players who move into the financial markets. So whether they move into kind of protection, pensions, mortgages, all that kind of stuff, and become an advisor. Well, if you've already got that kind of fan base, that following, or that local kind of reach, you can just go to a business and say, look, I'm not interested in being qualified or anything like that, but I can bring you all these people. You can start getting a commission, a cut and stuff like that on, what's going on. Like I said, and sometimes, well, you can even take a piece of the business so that you actually, you get that growth from it as well. So that when you finish sport, you can actually still have part of a business. Again, Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, just to kind of cut in there. A prime example is a friend of mine who played for London Welsh for a number of years when they got into the Premiership and everything. I kind of always joke with him every now and then of like, what does he actually do for a job? Because he's either out having posh dinners or he's on the golf course schmoozing clients. And that's pretty much what he does. He just goes out and schmoozes clients. So he gets paid to play golf and go to these receptions and, live a fairly decent lifestyle. Just because, again, there's the stories, the banter, all of that kind of stuff. And again, it's just that perception of a mere mortal with a sports person at the end of the day. And he hasn't got a massive following, but he's got that kind of alignment with the business where they know their target audience and it just fits really, really well. So there is always that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just thinking as well, mate, just something a little bit out the box. I can remember you talking about a business that you were working with, and that they had basically certain athletes on their books. One was a rugby player, and they were trying to sell a certain package, and they were struggling to sell this package. Once they added in, you could win the chance to do a training session with this guy. It exploded. And it is that thing. It is just that influence.
Well, and again, they were based in Cardiff, and the person who won it was from Leicester, I think. They literally drove down the morning of the training session just to do a 2-hour training session with him, and then drove back. I mean, it was bonkers, just absolutely crazy. But again, it's dedication. It's somebody wanting to, get close to their idol, get close to somebody that they've seen play, they think is amazing. There's an opportunity there.
Exactly that. So let's move on to 4 then. I know, Matt, this is one of your kind of favorites as well. But products and memberships. So, I mean, products, this could be digital products where it could be a course, it could be a workout guide, it could be a checklist, it could be something really simple. And then a membership could be something, you could tie in things like coaching and stuff like that into a membership. Or it could be that you've got some training videos where people can learn to do things themselves. You mentioned, having people like clubs and coaches and analysis and stuff like that on here. Is a similar thing with them, is that they could have different kind of videos on learning about certain things, whether that's someone who's inspiring to be an analysis or something like that. Or it could be someone who, is now coaching and someone wants to move from playing into coaching. You could do exactly that. Or with a club, maybe it's that you create memberships around, your athletes and stuff like that. So like you were saying, if there's a rugby player, you could create a membership around that rugby player teaching kids or teaching semi-pro people certain skills and stuff like that, where they can watch the videos and learn it. Yeah.
And this is the thing. So from a club's point of view, most clubs will think of memberships as, well, those are my season tickets. And therefore, everybody knows what I'm buying with a season ticket. Now, you could add on another level, which is, if you've got a family season ticket with little, Johnny and little Timmy on there as well, well, they could be an extra add-on for, I don't know, £10 a month or something like that, where they get access, and there could be content there from all the players on, how to pass, how to shoot, how to score a penalty, whatever. But then from an athlete's point of view, I've helped people before where they're former Olympians, that they do a bit of presenting, a bit of after dinner speaking. but those are kind of one-offs almost. There's nothing there that brings in residual income, whereas something like a membership could, because in the day, if you are an athlete, you have that mentality. You know what you're doing training-wise. You know how to lift weights properly. You know how to, put the right fuel into your bodies and so forth. Well, turning that into your own membership so that you can give that to your following. People are far more okay with paying monthly memberships these days than ever before. Years ago, even the simple things of buying, say, Microsoft Office, you used to do a one-time purchase. You get a disc from PC World, and that's that. Now it's a subscription. Now we're in the world of Netflix, Amazon Prime, all those kind of things where there are these small amounts going out of our bank accounts. But when you add it all up and you go, okay, so I could be doing a membership platform for a tenner a month and I could get 100 people into it. And 100 people is not a lot, but you could be generating £1,000 a month in recurring revenue just from 100 people following your process. And that's even just at a tenner a month. Go in at $14.99 or even more or whatever. I've seen people who have started their membership at $9.99 and have now raised it to $49.99 a month because they've built that following and they've got that value. Again, I'm going to pick on Peter because he's a Scrum doctor. I don't know, rugby's my thing. So you could easily have a website that teaches scrummaging technique. I've spoken to people far and wide about scrummaging. So I know that you could easily create videos about, the techniques for loose heads, tight heads, hookers, whatever. There's so much stuff around it. And there are people actually doing that, charging on a monthly basis for their programs. So memberships are a fantastic thing to utilize your skills to actually start generating some proper reoccurring revenue. And the numbers can be phenomenal. I'll just say 100 people at £10 a month, is £1,000. 250 people at £10 a month, you've got £2,500 coming in a month. That's 30 grand a year. That's a full-time wage for some people. And actually being able to grow that, because again, we go back to the alignment with businesses, the sponsorship and commission, you built your audience. It all intertwines together to give you more of a proposition to go out and actually work with people. And I know I picked on Peter as a Scrum doctor, but you could say, or a boxer, how to actually move around the ring, how to get your cardio up, how to make weight, whatever. I'm sure Jamie's got 101 other ideas there. Football, tennis, swimming, I've seen people with swimming memberships of helping people, with their races, with, their prep, all this kind of stuff. Memberships, we've said about Joe Wicks. Well, there you go. Membership sites, absolute key. And again, that's when you can then bring in products, because you can align yourself with companies that do, resistance bands, for instance. I saw a couple of months ago, Eddie Hall has brought out his own Beast resistance bands to go with his My Protein range and things like that. Prime example of building a membership, because he started his own weightlifting membership, and then supplementing it with products, aligning with businesses. Again, it just builds out your ecosystem of earning money, because the whole point of this, why Jamie and I have gone these 5 ways is, if you think about it, is to build those 5 pillars. Because then if you've got income coming in from different streams, if all of a sudden something happens and one drops away, you've still got these other pillars to go for. And that was the problem with the pandemic, for instance, is that everything just stopped. And if it stops, how can you continue? So you've got to start again. But this is all about putting in those sustainable ways that you can just absolutely smash it.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, who knows what's around the corner and stuff like that. You look to protect yourself. Memberships are great, and they, like you said, they're hot at the minute. They never look like they're going to be going away anywhere soon, away anytime soon or anything like that. Memberships are here. But what's really cool about it is, like you were saying, look, you can do this at all different kinds of levels, and you can do it in all kinds of different niches as well. So maybe it's something that you are just real interested in. Like, I'm going to pick on Jago again, but I know he's doing highlight reels for people, so players and stuff like that. In the States, he's doing the whole kind of highlight reels. He could do a membership now where he can say, look, I'm going to teach you how to get the right kind of footage and stuff like that, or how to kind of structure this. And even look at that kind of membership where it costs a little bit more, but he actually does a reel for them, each quarter or something like that. You can add different things into it. I love what you were saying there, Matt, about 100 people at £10 and stuff like that, and it's £1,000 and all this kind of stuff. It's like, look, you can go actually high end if you really wanted to with this. If you're a coach or something like that, and you're dealing with professional football players for striking or something like that, all of a sudden now you could take 10 people at £1,000 a month or something like that, where you're going to teach them how to become a better striker, how to score more goals. If you take tennis, you take Andy Murray, and you take, for so long he was kind of mediocre and then went through a whole kind of training regime to become a beast. That whole kind of training regime. Imagine the person who's involved in that, in the coaching kind of aspect of that, now going to all kind of inspiring tennis players and saying, could do the same kind of training with you. But what kind of money is that worth? Is worth millions, right? So it's like you get to do all the kinds of different things, but something really simple, just like products, like we said, it could be a checklist. It could just be, something really simple, and it could be real low cost. It could be £10, $10, whatever it is, and you're just building up that kind of trickle. So like you said, lots of different kind of, avenues. And I was going to get to the end, obviously, that you can do these as their own, or you can start to do a few of them, or you can start doing all of them and combine it and really kind of take advantage of it kind of moving forward. And then we get into the fifth one, really, which is just like productizing yourself. People buy from people. People love to kind of hear stories about sports people, stuff that's gone on. And you can do things through podcasting, through YouTube videos, through books and stuff like that as well. And all this stuff, like the times that we live in today and the technology that's available, this stuff doesn't have to cost you anything. You can just get on and do this yourself. Is the barrier to entry is really low. You just have to have the plan on now what you actually want to do and follow through with it. But you can actually just prototype yourself, and you could just be interviewing other people. It could be as simple as that. Like going back to the whole kind of pandemic, as soon as stuff shut down, we had people in cricket, we had people kind of lower levels of football, people boxers and stuff like that. There was no sport for them. It got shut down. They couldn't earn that money through, boxing on shows and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, start interviewing your stablemates, your teammates and stuff like that. Let's start creating some content around it. Let's get some sponsors for that now, where anyone who's watching the kind of videos are going to see the sponsors. The sponsors are paying you some money. You're building up your brand, you're building up your authority and stuff like that as well. You're giving yourself options so that when you do go back to playing or fighting or whatever it is, you can still leverage that. You can still keep on with that. You can still really use that to your advantage. Matt, again, I don't know if you want to jump in on anything.
I know this goes slightly against the whole, make more money from your sports, but you could write a little book, and it could be about, anything, better technique for I don't know, say scrummaging again, or better technique for, getting psyched for games or something like that. You can use it as what's called a lead magnet. So you can use it to put it out there completely free. But what you do is you start building up a database of people that you can then communicate with. Because one of the challenges with social media is that you put something out there in the hope that it's going to be seen by the right people. Now, they might be away, they might be in work, it might be the wrong time of day. There are so many variables there. But if you start putting out there about this free ebook, and again, they don't have to be that fantastic. It could just be a Word document saved as a PDF. It doesn't have to be all bells and whistles. It's just better to do something than nothing. But you get it out there, you build your database, because then that means that you can communicate with them on your terms. And therefore, they'll open it. So if you do start a podcast, if you do start a YouTube channel, if you do align yourself with other businesses or have memberships, you've got your more targeted audience to communicate out to. And that's absolutely key, because, again, going back to the sponsorship commissions, things like that, it's great to have a number on social media and say, I've got these many followers on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or whatever. But again, if you've got your database, there's a value to that. And you can easily start to communicate out to those people on a regular basis, build up better rapport, because there's this formula I always talk to people about called 7-11-4. Now, Google did a survey years ago, and they came up with this ideal formula for how to interact with people, how to win business. And there's this 7-11-4, which says you need 7 hours of content, 11 touch points in 4 different locations. So let's address it. 7 hours of content, YouTube video, social media, you in the press, you on film or whatever. That's all the content. 11 touch points is people seeing you when they're on their commute to work, when they're seeing you on social media, on their phone, all those kind of things. And the 4 different locations, well, again, in their house, in their office, out and about, so forth. So this is what it's all about. It's about kind of almost having that omnipresence and basically being seen, because that way you can leverage your ebooks, your content, your value, your experience, again, your experience, because look, I started a podcast during the pandemic because, let's face it, most people did. I had time in my hands. So, and when I'm interviewing people, and again, when I've interviewed people like Sean Fitzpatrick, David Campese, Sharon Davis, Derek Redmond, all these kind of people, I want to know about their experiences. I want to know about, how they got to where they were, what they were thinking during those moments, whether it was the 95 Rugby World Cup or the 1992 Barcelona Olympics when Derek Redmond broke down and his father ran onto the track. What was going on in those moments? People are fans. People want to get that experience. They want to get that inside knowledge. Those of us who never became professional sports people want to know what's on the other side of the fence. And that's where you going onto YouTube, creating your own podcast, speaking to teammates, creating your own books. That's the stuff that people want. They want to see over the fence. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I say that from my own experience of holding off on some of the stuff that I've done over the years because I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it to look all polished and professional. And if you want to do that, it's going to cost money. But you know what? Recording an interview on a phone or something like that is good enough to get you started. Because as soon as you start churning more out, you start getting a bigger audience, you start building your following and your tribe, then the best thing is you start to get that attention, you get that sponsorship. You can pay somebody else to make it look more polished and professional. Trust me, I do that myself. But it's all about leveraging your content and your experience.
And like you said as well, mate, that kind of gets them started. Is sometimes you get people with, a bit of mindset issues and stuff like that. What will people think? Is that cost of inaction is just so high. Just stopping yourself from doing something. You're stopping yourself from actually achieving what you want to achieve, whether that's for yourself, it could be for your family and stuff like that. It could even be for your fans, giving back to the sport and stuff like that. What's really cool as well, you're talking about starting a podcast. Obviously, yeah, do you know what? Pandemic, I did exactly the same. But I did it on the whole kind of marketing strategy side, and I did it with a guy that I know. And basically, the Spotify do the whole kind of wrap up kind of thing, And if you use Spotify, it tells you obviously, the music you listen to and stuff like that. But if you have a podcast that you put out there, it gives you some stats then on, basically how well your podcast did and stuff like that. Now, for last year, right, we put out something like 250 minutes of content, right? So that's not even like that much, right? It's a good few hours worth of content. For 6 months, we didn't record anything because the guy I did it with had a heart attack. I don't know why I laughed then. That was, but it's more like ironic because it's like there was 6 months missing, and we did that kind of content, right? But the wrap up that came out to us said that you're in the top 25% of business contributors in the world. And that's just with a few hours, So if you actually put some time this year to actually just put a few hours out, you're going to be heard, you're going to be seen, around the world and stuff like that. Another thing, just to pick up, talking about books and stuff like that, I think what's really cool to kind of highlight how important kind of brand, marketing is. How many celebrities and stuff like that over the past few years have come out with like a children's book, or something like that. And look, they didn't write the book, they're just putting their name to it. So they're going to earn a royalty, they're going to earn commission from it and stuff like that. They're getting paid that just because of who they are and the brand that they have. Like I said, you can obviously do this at any kind of level and stuff like that. Matt, I think one thing that you mentioned earlier, I think that's really important to kind of pick up on as well, where we talked about memberships. Yeah. And like you said, working with an Olympian, retired Olympian, and they're looking at where's the next money coming from? Because it's like, okay, we look at kind of some after dinner events or something like that. Well, putting a membership in place of them actually going through, some sort of training and stuff like that, giving advice, and even people, of a certain age and stuff like that, helping them to kind of get more limber and stuff like that, you know, that's provided them with an income, you know. And we also look at it from a way where you have someone in a sport that maybe doesn't earn a lot of money, but they love the sport and they don't want to move or anything like that. They want to stay where they are. They can build a membership alongside what they do to support them in their income so that they can stick doing what they love, but they still get that kind of income coming in as well. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with a guy called Phil Davis, who's the director of rugby for World Rugby, the other day, and talking about his career, you know, several years ago. And he said the guys that he was playing with, because he worked in the police for a while, they're all coming out of the police now. They've all got, you know, pensions. They've all got this kind of stuff. They don't need to work anymore. He stayed in rugby. He left the police because he wanted to play rugby, and obviously he's still working. He's been lucky, and he says that he's still doing a job that he loves. You know, he's managed to coach professionally, internationally, and now obviously at World Rugby. But if that decision to quit the police proved to be the wrong one, then where would he be now? You know, and like you said, you know, dealing with past Olympians where the speaking gigs dried up. And I know, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but they couldn't remortgage their house because they didn't have a steady income. They couldn't generate anything else. So creating a membership platform has actually given them a steady income now. You know, they're not setting the world on fire. They haven't got 10, 20, 30,000 members, but they've got a good stream of people who are paying them monthly that they can afford to continually put professional content in and actually live and live fairly well. They've still got TV work. They've still got speaking gigs. But now they've put that solid pillar in place that should anything else happen, it continues to grow.
Yeah, exactly that. And like that's for me that I've got this up on the screen at the minute, like to-do list that make more money. And I think that's something just to take away from this, that however you want to do it, we've been through those 5 ways, and there's obviously different ways within those and stuff like that. There's bound to be something that's kind of just hit you where you're like, I want to work on that. There's something I want to do. I think let's use the chat for a minute as well. I mean, put some stuff in there. If you know, something that we've kind of been through, you're just like, I want to do that. That sounds like something I want to work on. Or I've had this idea already, actually, you know, now I'm thinking I'm going to do it, you know, put those kind of comments in, you know, let's see what we're looking to do. But this thing here about make more money, it's just about giving yourself options. You know, it's not about, you know, there's going to be people on the call, of course they are, where they go, yeah, make more money. I want that Ferrari, you know, I want that mansion. I want this and everything like that. But it's just like, look, it's about giving you options, because it could be that, okay, you've got a bit of extra money there that you can invest into starting that business. It could be that you get a little bit more money there where, you know, you can stop working in that job to concentrate on your sport. It could be that you've got a bit more money there that if an opportunity comes up to go overseas to do something, you've got a bit of that cushion there. So it's all about making more money to give yourself those options. And those options could even just be to give it back. You know, it could be to give back to your sport, to give back to people, you know, but you need that money to be able to do it. Otherwise, it's always just going to come out of your pocket, isn't it? You know, we don't want to keep, you know, doing stuff like that. And this
I've
is
just seen Carl check in the message. Yeah. 12,500 followers on Instagram enough to get sponsorship? Yeah, why not? Mate, I know people who have a hell of a lot less sponsors, who have a podcast that only gets a handful of views, but they still get sponsors. The key question is what kind of sponsors are you looking for? You know, and if you find the right people for your kind of niche, your sport, then can absolutely be, you could smash it, because there's a value in that. And again, you know, like I said, they've got maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 at a push followers. So for 12,500, yeah, you can definitely get sponsorship for it. It's just knowing who you're aiming at that aligns with your value, and who sees the value in that, and kind of what you can send their way as well.
I think just to add on to that as well, where we talk about followers, like, you know, you could probably go onto some weird kind of sites and stuff like that and buy followers, right? And those followers are just bots. They don't count towards anything. All they do is they just give you those kind of vanity kind of metrics where you've got, you know, I'm not saying this is the case, but you've got 12,500 followers, you know. It's that if they're all bots, then it's irrelevant. You know, it doesn't matter then. You could have 500 people who love you. You know, anything that you put out there, listening to everything you do, that's more valuable than having 12,000 people. Is that if you can have that influence, again, coming back to, you know, if you can get the attention, you know, if you've got the attention and the influence, then you can leverage it. That's all we want to do. So we can start putting steps in place there where you can start testing stuff like that out. So it's like straight away, it could be that you just sign up to get an affiliate link somewhere, you know, something that is related to you. Again, you know, I don't know the whole kind of situation, but maybe it is that you're vegan and you use a certain vegan protein, you know, something like that. All of a sudden now you get an affiliate link and you share that with people, you know, on your Instagram. They go off and buy it. You know, you get your commission, but that's your proof of concept as well now, that you can go to a bigger brand and say, look, this is what I did, you know, just on one post or a couple of posts or something like that. Let's look at what we can do. And it just speaks a lot more, you know, it speaks volumes to be able to do that rather than just going out and saying, yeah, okay, I've just got, you know, this. But yeah, having 12,500 is a great place to start, right? But yeah.
So yeah, the other thing, just to kind of, you know, go with Carl's thing there as well, is get it out on your socials as well that you're looking for sponsors, because nobody's a mind reader. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just need to be a bit kind of big and bullshit with this stuff of going, look, I'm looking for sponsors. I'm looking for, you know, to get some sponsored ads out, or I'm looking to align myself with products, same as, you know, Jamie was saying there. You know, so again, just getting something out there that says, look, I am open to sponsorship. Let's have a conversation. And again, making sure that people can openly communicate with you, you know, removes a barrier there.
And that's the thing. I mean, you probably are already connected with people who would be interested. That's the thing right there. So by you putting it out there, you open up that channel. Like you said, sometimes, well, people just aren't thinking it, but then they see it and they go, okay, that makes sense. Let's have a conversation about that.
People need pointed in the right direction at the end of the day. I often say it in various meetings of people are stupid. So therefore, sometimes you've got to be forward in what you're going to do and say, look, you know, I'm looking for a sponsor. You know, if you want to sponsor me, here it is. I've got 12,500 followers. I've got good engagement, blah, blah, blah. So just getting that out there, you know, can make all the difference sometimes. Mark's just put in as well, saying that he's a rugby analyst. Excellent. We always like rugby analysts. So working with athletes and looking to start a side hustle by producing highlight reels, only reservations, legal ramifications in terms of ownership of footage. Yeah, I totally get that. You know, again, do you get people to sign waivers? Do you not? I'd always suggest with any legal matter, as you know, my legal qualifications, you know, go years and years and years ago, so it wouldn't be worth it. I'd always just seek legal advice, even if it's just speak to a solicitor on that. I'd probably say that if you were filming professional games, then speak to the clubs or the organisations that you're working with in terms of image rights. But obviously, if you then put highlight reels together for individual athletes, then obviously you probably would need their full consent over who owns that footage. And I'd probably suggest that the best thing for you is to make sure that you get joint ownership of it, because that way you can use it as a highlight reel for what you're doing to recruit more athletes, but then also the athlete can actually use that stuff to actually, you know, obviously promote themselves, whether that's to promote themselves for clubs or even to sponsors or to whatever. You know, and yeah, anything legal, I'd always get professional advice on it. But certainly creating those reels and stuff like that, you know, it's a big field now and definitely a good side hustle to get into.
I think just to add on that, yeah, look, for legal advice, look, you know, we could put you in the right directions and stuff like that, of course, but, you know, we recommend to get that yourself. But look, I mean, if you look at it from a few different ways, where I'm working with a rugby player, retired, putting on kind of skills, schools and stuff like that, they're looking for some images to use on their website. They go to Getty Images and they're just like, why have I got to pay for my own image? And it's just like, that's the world we live in, because the person that took the photo is actually the owner of it. So when it comes to actually filming, it's like, look, are you filming the footage yourself? Are you taking it off of the likes of TV or something like that? That's where it can get into being a bit messy. But if you're doing stuff yourself, or even if that person's supplying you with stuff, you know, then it gets into, you know, liability could be on them and stuff like that. You're putting stuff together. there is a big thing in regards to kind of legal entity as well, where if you are changing the content to a certain kind of a certain percentage, then it isn't kind of in with the copyrights and stuff like that. And what that basically means is that if you are doing kind of analysis over it, or if you are kind of moving different screens to different shots and stuff like that, you know, you can probably get around it where it's not the kind of legal issue and stuff like that. But you know, we can go into more stuff like that on an individual basis, of course. You know, Matt, is there anything else in the chat stuff that you want to run through?
Yeah, your mate Jago is thanking you for all the shout outs and the name dropping, but is also asking a very good question about how do you actually price it. You know, so if you are putting out highlight reels and things like that, how do you actually price it? And it's a very difficult one, you know. And part of what he said is that, you know, he speaks to people, and then when he gives them the price, they ghost him. And I can see that happening because, you know, sometimes our eyes are bigger than our belly. Sometimes when it comes to these things, and there is always a cost for things. You know, now in my mind, you could structure that cost so that it's not such a big cost. It might be split into two. It may even be split over a couple of months. You know, you could set up something using, I don't know, Go Cardless or something like that to take a payment so that it's spread over 6 or 12 months. Obviously, there's always a danger that you know, they stop that and don't pay you. You know, those people are out there. Again, it could be, you know, how do you price it? Again, look at your audience. You know, if you were pricing it for a Premiership footballer, then, you know, a good couple of grands isn't really going to make much of a difference to them. If it's a Sunday League player who wants a bit of a reel before they retire, then, you know, they're not going to have hundreds and thousands to spend. So pricing is always a difficult one. As Jamie knows, I don't like talking about money, so I'll leave him with this one.
I think anytime we have that conversation, you're just like, I don't know, you know, just leave it to it. But yeah, that kind of thing. I mean, you hit it nail on the head. It's like if you take here in the UK, like, you can get a brand new car for less than £10,000, right? You can also go and buy a McLaren or something for like $500,000. It's like it's still a car, right? It comes down to the people who are actually buying it and the needs and wants and stuff like that. The same reason that a Gucci bag costs more than, you know, one down the market and stuff like that. It's like it comes down to the actual individual buying it and what they want it for. You know, so what you can do there is you can either build up yourself as being that kind of creator that people come to you because your stuff is awesome, you know, and it costs X amount. It could be a case of they come to you because you're the budget option, you know, and they know what they're getting for that kind of price. Now, for anything, we're getting into a bit of kind of business marketing here and stuff like that as well. But for any time that you get those kind of issues, it usually means that the qualifying period wasn't done properly. You know, so what you can do there is you can actually let them know the price before you actually have the conversation with them. You know, so you're kind of leading it to a point where, like, it's going to cost this amount of money. You know, let's have a conversation if you're interested. And then that way you're only having chats with people who know the kind of price. Like, if you get to the point where you're having all the kind of conversation, everything's really great, and then you say it costs X amount, and they're like, I haven't got that money. And you just wasted your time, really, you know, having that conversation. But if you can say, look, cost this amount of money, we just need to chat first. And they say, okay, let's chat. Then also you get that kind of thing. And like you said, Matt, as well, you can structure it in different ways. So you can get paid over a certain period. And the one thing that I would kind of just chuck on that as well, where it's just like, as much as you don't want to concede or be the cheapest and stuff like that, look, it just comes down to your circumstances at the minute. If you're like, look, I really need to get a couple of £100 by the end of the month, and I usually charge X amount, but I can get 5 people now for a lower amount to get me that money, do what you need to do.
But it's also about building up your portfolio. You know, at the end of the day, if you can't go from 0 to 60, you know, straight away. So therefore, if you build up your portfolio, that people go, damn, he's good. Those you know, reels are awesome. I can't afford not to have them. Yeah. So again, showing the success stories around that as well. So, you know, if you've done a reel for somebody and they've gone on and picked up a decent contract with a big club or something like that, then again, you want to be singing that from the rooftops, because that goes towards your value. Everything goes towards value at the end of the day. And again, you know, if you find the right audience and you tap into that you know, little stream of gold, you could be charging some decent money there. And again, Mark said about, you know, lots of discussions around ownership of data in sport. Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? That tells you how important data actually is, So therefore, whether that's data for a club in terms of what people are buying, season ticket holders, all that kind of information, right the way down to individual athletes in terms of how many people are following them, where are those followers in the world, what their demographic is, age or gender or whatever. Because again, people want to know information. Information is so important. If you haven't got it, you can't do anything with it. If you have got it, you can do something with it. And it's as simple as that. Did some work years ago for Lord's Cricket Ground where actually brought all their data together, whether that was ticketing, season tickets, everything and anything. It's a good few days that I'll never get back in my life because it was just trawling through terabytes of data. But at the end of it, we could target individual people based around ticketing requirements, teams, competitions, anything like that. So we could literally get a communication out just like that to make sure we got the bums in the seats to fill the stands and things. So it just shows you how important data is, not just in business, but in sport as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I just to pick up on what you said as well, then, mate, I mean, yeah, exactly that. Like if you don't have proof of concept right now, then it could be worth even just doing a few things at no cost just to build up that portfolio that you can now go off to be, okay, look, this is what we did for so-and-so. This is how it impacted them, what they were allowed to do, or how they got scouted or whatever it is. You now can charge more because that proof of concept is there. And look, I've had this image up on screen for a while now. I'm sure you've read it, but it is just about taking action. It's just like, look, nothing's going to happen if you don't, take action to make it happen and stuff like that. Obviously, the ways that we've been through, so far, pick one, and start to use it and take advantage of it. Look, if you want to speed up the process, if you want some help with it, look, let's have a conversation. Yeah, but before you leave, let us know, and we can send over an email and have a chat or something like that. Something that we do offer, and this is what we're going to look to give away as well, is we have this thing called Sports Funnel, and the Sports Funnel is all about kind of marketing a certain thing. So it could be you as an individual marketing yourself. It could be that you're marketing the sponsorship option. It could be that you're marketing your business, or a certain kind of side hustle that you want to set up. And what we do with that is we do like a big strategy session. We create the marketing plan. We build out the funnels. We build out like a website. We build out the lead magnets. We build out the email system. We build out the social content, all this kind of stuff to help you, make money within this time. We look at then game plan sessions moving on as well. So we look at each month having a game plan session. We do this for 4 months and we charge £750 a month for 4 months. You then have, this funnel. It's yours to keep. You get to use it and use it to your advantage. And look, if anyone wants to go straight ahead with that now, then obviously, look, we'll have that conversation and obviously look to go ahead. But that's what we are going to give away, right? So we charge £3,000 for this as a whole. It's split into kind of 4 payments. But we're going to give it away to one lucky person, right? So with the giveaway offer, what we do is we have a form, which is just your name, email, and then why you should win. So look, what is it you would use it for? What would you use our help for? We were on your side to help you kind of, guide you towards whatever it is that you were trying to achieve, whether that's to create a side income, whether it's to support you funding your sport, whether it's to give yourself more options to be able to do something, maybe it's to give back, whatever it is. How is it we could help you? Okay, so why is it that you should win? Obviously, you've got a ugly kind of URL here. Matt, I think you can chuck this into the chat for me if anyone wants to go.
In the chat.
That's great. So you can go over there to just enter there. But yeah, look, that's what we're going to do is basically just give away this kind of section here. So this isn't just like, we're going to tell you what to do and get on with it. We're going to work with you to build out exactly what it is that you want to achieve. And more importantly, earn the money. It could be that you're looking for somewhere to kind of show that you have that brand, that you can collect data, and you're looking to get sponsorship. It could be that you're looking to sell tickets to something. It could be that you've got a new kind of coaching program. It could be that you've got a kind of, you want to put together like a membership and stuff like that. What we do is we build out that funnel that lets you get the customer. So whether it's a case of they go straight through to buy whatever it is, or, you get that data to have that conversation with them. And obviously, yeah, all the kind of marketing around it, and then working with you to make sure that it's kind of all up and running, all firing, earning you money, and then you can take over or even look to get some support for someone to run it for you. So yeah, I think that kind of brings it to a close on on the slides and stuff like that. Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything in before we jump into sort of Q&A and stuff like that.
Yeah, my biggest thing with all of this is just do something. I think, we touched upon it earlier of, there's always that perfectionist in us where we want it to be all shiny. We want it to look like, Ronaldo's done it or Beckham's done it or, any of these big kind of names have done it. But we've also just got to get something out there, because if nobody knows about us and what we're doing, what we're selling, what we're creating, what we're offering, what's the point? Because it's like sitting there in your house waiting for your phone to ring, but nobody knows your number. So it's just better to get it out there and do something rather than wanting it to be perfect. If you want to start that podcast, go and start that podcast. It doesn't take 5 minutes to set up. If you want to do some YouTube videos, then got a little tripod off the phone and just start doing it. Whatever. Just do something to raise your profile, to build your audience, to build your tribe as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's what it's all about, though, isn't it? Doing something. I love that story about Joe Wicks, the body coach, as well. I like, whether you love him or hate him and the stuff that he does right now, but just that whole thing of he was trying to put on classes in his local area and no one would turn up. And then because no one would turn up, he just started recording himself one day, or do a bit of a session like this, some mountain climbers or whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, I do a little video of me, eating whatever it is, for nutrition. And then all of a sudden, he starts making some money from it because he starts getting the whole kind of brand and people recognizing it. He starts getting some affiliate commission. He starts getting some YouTube commission and stuff like that through ads and stuff. And then all of a sudden it just blows up. But it all because he decided to do something.
The one thing that's just going to slip in there with that as well, Jamie, is that people also criticize them. And I think that's one thing that always holds everybody back, is that, people will look to take pot shots and criticize. I think some people I'd spoken to said, he uses coconut oil or something when he's doing those videos, and look at the mess he's making. It's like, who cares? For every one of those detractors, there are probably another 10, 20, 30, 40, even a couple of hundred people that are going, oh my God, that's really good. And that's how he builds an audience. There are always going to be negative people out there who are going to try and take something away. So shut them off, get on with it, get your stuff out there, and just make a difference. And we've had somebody on the chat saying, they want to write a book, but English isn't the first language. Can they find someone to help to write it? Of course. There are loads of content writers out there. Again, Jamie touched upon it earlier, of sports people who have written books or children's books and things like that. They probably haven't sat there and come up with these characters or anything. Somebody else has written the book, they've slapped their name on it, and away we go. There are websites out there for content writers. Again, you can Google content writers. There are sites like Fiverr or Upwork or loads of different places out there where you can actually find people who will write, will take what you've written and kind of rewrite it, check it. Look, if you want to know a couple of people as well, then again, just drop us a note. Jamie, do you want to drop an email address into the chat?
Yeah, I'll drop one in, but obviously, look, you got an email from us to get this link.
Yeah,
just feel free to reply to that one.
Yeah, and we can direct you into some people that we know. So again, if you're looking to get a book published, there's a couple of people that Jamie and I know who do help people self-publish books, which is obviously a good entry point. There shouldn't be any barriers to entry that for what you want to do that can't be overcome.
Yeah, exactly. And I think obviously looking at the chat, is there anything that we didn't kind of touch on, or does anyone have any questions that they want to just come off mute and stuff like that and just ask? Yeah, Gabby, go for it.
Hi guys, sorry for my camera being turned off. I have some issues with it. Thank you for the presentation, great insights, great examples. However, I want to touch on a different topic. Let's just say you have like a platform that provides content for a niche category of people, and you have like a few users already, but you're looking forward to kind of increase the retention levels because you talked about exposure and gaining new users, but how you make the current users to use your product.
So if you don't mind, Jamie, I'll step in on this one. So part of my background is I was the customer success director for a SaaS company for a number of years. So we had clients in 46 different countries. We were charging them on a monthly basis, but we didn't tie people into contracts. So that meant that, you know, if they didn't like using us, they'd leave. And we had over 5,000 clients. So we were doing something right. So retention is always one of those things, because what we often do is spend a lot of time looking at the front end of the funnel, which is to get that attention, to get people signed up. And then once they're signed up, great, you're on your own. So putting things in place that can be automated so it doesn't add more time to your workload, but maybe sends them a regular email, maybe sends them a text message, a survey, something like that, depending on your platform, because again, it's quite a wide open question. You could integrate some of this stuff so that if it was a course, for instance, you could actually get things to plug in so that if they haven't completed section 1, after about a week or 2 weeks, whenever they should have completed it, it maybe drops them an email that goes, hey, you haven't completed the first course yet. Is there anything you need our help with? And again, can continually drop them messages on a regular basis so that we keep them engaged. And again, it's knowing that structure and knowing the tools that you can use, emails, social media, any other way, or text messaging, any other ways that you can just communicate with these people. Again, chatbots, going really, really technical now, but depending on your platform, you could have a chatbot in there that, again, automatically starts a conversation with them. And that conversation could be on Facebook, because we know people will log into Facebook, so they'll have that conversation. So we can literally just, keep these little touch points running. And then what I always, say as well is I always have what's called a kind of an at-risk register. So if we've got somebody that's signed up and they're paying monthly, but it gets to say month 2, month 3, and they haven't really done anything, maybe give an alert to yourself or somebody else in the business to go, hey, Matt signed up, but he hasn't completed the stuff by the allotted dates. Maybe you need to pick up the phone and speak to them, or however you want to interact with them. So again, just having that process that's, can be as automated as anything in the backgrounds, can save you time, but also increase retention as well. And again, with those emails, personalizing them so you've got names or anything like that, then just make sure that you do that.
Yeah,
hopefully
definitely.
That's giving you a little bit of insight there.
I think as well, mate, just to add on that with the whole kind of thing with retention is like, look, if you've spent the time to get the actual person in, then the interest is there, the intent is there, and it is just keeping up with that interest, just to make sure that people are still interested in what it is. So if you had something like, if you took Netflix for example, well, if they never updated their movies, then it gets to a point where people kind of exhausted it. They've checked out the movies available, they've maybe watched whatever, and that's it. Then they're going to give up the membership. So if it's something that people have already kind of completed, and then you're just looking at them continuing to be a member, what's in it for them? So if there's something that just keeps changing, or something that keeps being added, or the support is there, if it's just a case of that line that is there to you to get support or something like that, or like Matt was saying, an email drips over time, so people would just go, okay, yeah, there's some useful information being shared here and stuff like that. Then they stick around. So it is just looking at, again, what platform it is, what it is that you provide, but just making sure that, you always kind of look at value first and go, what's in it for them?
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of almost crosses into Jago's question as well about the sports funnel. So can you put the slide up? But just to kind of run through it, sports funnel, marketing funnel, sales funnel, whatever you want to kind of call it, it's all about basically attracting people. So it's like pouring, liquid into a bottle with a funnel of going, right, you have the big bit at the top, which is to get as many people as possible. Then you try and get them down to this bit, which is more convincing them before getting them down to the bottom, which is getting them across the line in sales. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's just for sales. Again, it's just building your audience, attracting the better people, converting them into customers. But once we have got them as customers, it's then going, almost to Gabby's point of going, well, what about retention? What about the next thing? What about the upsell? So same as Jamie said, if you have got this course and people have completed it, what's next? You've done all the hard work to get people into the business, to get them to give you money. The next thing is, well, how do we actually take them to upsell them? So if we have brought them into a £10 a month membership, for instance, how do we get them onto a £19.99 a month membership, or a £24.99 or a £49.99 membership? What's the next step for them? What's the next product? What's the next, thing for them? Is it the next book? Is it the next series of videos? Is it, that they've learned the basics of football. Now you want to sell them on the advanced techniques and how to do a bicycle kick and how to do all these weird and wonderful things, how to, do the Ronaldo, celebration, whatever you want to do. But it's about doing that next thing, because once you've got them into your ecosystem, it's about moving them around and maximizing that profit then from them.
And just asking people as well. I mean, look, if people drop off, then, just get in contact with them and just ask them that question, because it could be a case of they're just going, I need more support, I need more help. And you're saying, yeah, I can help with that, definitely. But it's X amount of money. And they're going, yeah, but that's absolutely fine. This is what I need. It's what I want.
Yeah. We've all been there where we signed up for something because, it piqued our interest at the time. I've done it before. I signed up for something that cost me £2,000. I never used it, never completed it, never did anything with it. And I would go, why did I just pay £2,000 for that? But in the spur of the moment, I was like, I can't live without this. So there's always going to be that kind of buyer's remorse on things. So therefore, if we ask them why are they leaving, it could be because it might be too easy, it might be too complicated. They might not understand it. There are 101 different reasons for it. But never be afraid to actually ask that question. Why did you join us? Why did you guys come onto the webinar today? Why did you stay on the webinar today? And how, if we do another one, are you going to come back? You should never be afraid to ask these questions, because it's all a learning opportunity of how you can make it better for the next person. Better still, you can make it better for the next 10 people, which will add even more value as well.
100%. Yeah, I love that, man. I hope that helps. And ask any more questions or anybody else, feel free.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, anybody else? You're going to have to use some filler, Matt. You're going to have to start singing or something.
Put some background music on.
But yeah, I stopped sharing that one a minute, but yeah, I mean, like with Jay was saying, look, what's included? Look, there's just a bullet point kind of thing here. Like, everybody's going to be different. Whatever that kind of strategy session is, it's going to be open and honest. Someone's going to say, okay, look, this is what's going on right now. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, look, let's build out that kind of marketing plan around it. But more importantly, let's build the ecosystem, because look, you're going to need, like a website, you're going to need, some sort of capture information. Not everyone's ready to buy right now, but we want to educate them into buying from us. We want to look at the kind of social content that goes out to make people aware of what we're doing. So all that kind of marketing content, we work with you to do. There's more stuff that you can do yourself, and we will advise on obviously what you can do. And then looking at the game plan sessions, just to make sure you're on track each month, so it's not just a case of, like you say, here's some software, get on and do it. It's like working with you to go, okay, like how many people did we get in? That whole kind of like retention thing and stuff like that. It's like, right, okay, how many people stayed? Why didn't they stay? Okay, we need to plug this gap here. Okay, what's going on next month? Can we take advantage of, a certain event that's going on where we let people know what we're doing, and how that can help them and stuff like that. So because the event is of a kind of topical point and stuff like that. And it's all about building up a mini kind of business or a mini kind of brand builder to give you that kind of that stepping stone, that kind of level then that you can just build from and use from. So it's not just a case of trying to do things. You've got something in place that works and you can just add on to it. So yeah,
it's as simple as that. And again, what I'll say with that is that anything that people do share with us is obviously confidential. And at the end of the day, we're here to help. So you don't know what you don't know, but again, hopefully that means that's where we can bring plenty of stuff to the table.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's it. You get that whole kind of power of the mastermind, you know, it could be something that you're kind of thinking of, and then you kind of say it out loud and someone takes that in and they go, okay, but what about this? And all of a sudden it's just growing levels. You know, you're kind of thinking something is in this kind of box, and then by sharing it and having input and stuff like that, it's like, well, actually this is possible. And it just spurs on to something completely different then. But yeah, I mean, look, you know, anybody else in the chat, feel free. If you don't want to come off of mute, just chuck it into the chat. But if no one has anything to say, then we'll look to wrap things up. I think this is it. You know, this is it. It's just like, I let everyone have a couple of moments, maybe just in case they are like typing something, you know. But yeah, other than that, so feel free to get in touch. You know, use that form as well if you want to kind of take, you know, look to kind of get that the kind of sports funnel to win that. What I will say as well, if anyone wants to go ahead with the sports funnel, we can obviously just have that chat and get going. If then you are selected as the winner, then, you know, we just give you money back and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just obviously that option is there if you want to just, you know, get going straight away. But yeah, and just on the stuff that we do, consulting for sports, marketing for sports, look, you know, athletes, clubs, individuals, sports businesses, what we look to do there is just help you achieve what you're trying to achieve, you know, working with you on side, whether that's just the case or giving you the guidance and direction through to fully managing, you know, that project and stuff like that for you. There's options there. So yeah, let's have that conversation.
Nice and simple.
Cool. I guess we'll sign off then, Matt. If no one else has anything, I just say, look, it's been a pleasure. Thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, look, it's been great. Let's get on to another one. And let us know what you want more content on. You know, we're planning to do a few of these, and if we can do stuff on specifics, then great.
Yeah, send us your burning questions, and we'll turn it into either another webinar or a bit of video content. And yeah, always happy to help.
Great. No, love it. Thank you. We'll catch up soon. The dog's barking. It's time to go.
Yeah, the dog's barking. So that's me out. Cheers, guys.
I love it. We'll see you then.